Hi, my name is Gabi, and I am the founder of Angels for Animal Rescue, and I am also the mom of Walter, Winslow, Benji, and Rue. Walter, Winslow, and Benji all had a really rare genetic disorder called Mucopolysaccharidoses. It's also known as MPS type 6. It's a very rare lysosomal storage disorder. Pretty much when the cells can't break down a certain enzyme and they build up in the body, and that buildup causes a bunch of health issues, not only muscle and skeletal issues, but cardiac issues, eye issues, airway issues, like pretty much it's everything it affects. Walter was the first one I rescued. He was dumped off at the animal shelter after his previous owners decided they didn't want to keep him anymore because they were quote unquote moving. And at that point, they just said he was born with deformities. They didn't really know what was going on. So I was actually there picking up another dog out of quarantine, and one of the officers there who knows me, she's like, "Gabi, you've got to come see this dog." And I look in her arms, and I'm like, I still remember it to this day exactly where I was standing and what I said. I was just like I had never seen a dog that looked quite like Walter. He had the cutest little underbite, the pushed-in button nose, and the biggest, most expressive eyes. So I immediately told her yes, I'd take him. And so I took him home, and I was only planning on fostering him just because I already had another dog and I was in college, and I wasn't sure if I could handle his medical needs. I was happy to foster him through our nonprofit, but then I decided that when I took him to the vet and we kind of were trying to figure out what was going on, his vet recommended that I go see an eye doctor for him because his eyes were very cloudy. And so I took him there, and the doctor's like, "Well, I've seen this condition with his eyes only once before, but it was in a cat. And this cat had a very rare genetic disorder." So she did some research and got us connected with the University of Pennsylvania, where we did Walter's testing at. It was very sad because I had started doing research on what this disorder was, and of course, short in life. It's a very short life expectancy where they usually only live to 6 months. If they make it past 6 months, they usually will live until 2, maybe 4 years of age, so it's not very long. And it's a progressive disease, so they will lose the mobility of walking, doing basic things. So it was very overwhelming for me. I was so sad. I kept thinking every day, my dog's gonna die. And there's so much unknown about this disorder, so I was just heartbroken. My vet was more than willing to take on the task of being Walter's vet. Same with his cardiologist and his ophthalmologist. They all took a very big interest in him. So with their support, I decided to keep Walter forever and adopt him. I already knew he was going to stay with me. He was just so used to me, but this just confirmed it. So Walter, I started sharing him online on Facebook, and more and more people wanted to know more about him. So I started raising awareness about MPS, and through that, we actually met 6 other miniature pinschers with this disorder. And then the years went on, and we met more and a few more, and we were able to help some of these dogs get vetting through. Walter used to do raffles with paintings he would do with his feet. We do live videos, we do meet and greet. We got together with a few of the other MPS dogs as well. So kind of snowballed into all about Walter. But then sadly, Walter had passed away on Valentine's Day in 2016. And of course, I was just so heartbroken and distraught. But my heart was still I want to help another dog with MPS. Thinking that this probably isn't going to happen. I mean, this is a very rare disease, and usually the dogs don't make it that long. Walter was I think he was almost 3 when he passed away. But then all of a sudden, I get a message on Facebook, somebody telling me, "Hey, there's a dog that looks like Walter." Somebody who had recognized, because of Walter, what MPS looks like. And it was this little smaller miniature pinscher named Winslow, who was only 2 pounds, and he was at the Bakersfield Animal Shelter, and they were pleading with somebody to rescue him because they didn't want to see him put down. So I went over there. I drove in rush hour traffic from pretty much Newport Beach, where I was working at the time, all the way to Bakersfield, and I see this tiny little feisty dog who was enjoying his meal of El Pollo Loco and didn't want to leave it to come with me. And I sat him in the car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was meant to be. It was just too big of a coincidence for him to come into my life. There had to be something else, this is my calling. So like Walter, Winslow adapted very well. His main issues were I mean, he had a little bit of heart disease, but he had GI issues, stomach issues. His pylorus, which is part of the GI system, was in like the wrong spot. He had eye issues, and then he had an emergency condition that required emergency surgery, which was very risky because these dogs are so delicate. They don't do well under sedation. They definitely don't do well under general anesthesia. They're also very immunocompromised as well. So like Walter, he would get infections a lot. Winslow got some skin infections, but he was a happy, very talkative, very feisty little dog. And I loved it so much every minute that I had him. But unfortunately, Winslow did pass away as well on January 16th, 2019, and he had helped carry on Walter's legacy and spread more awareness about MPS, and we were able to continue. Like, the more and more followers we got, the more and more people learned about this disease and took such an interest, and people were saying, like, I want to foster a special needs animal. Being different is beautiful, and that's kind of what I want to share my message, is that just because there's a special needs animal, I'd really consider fostering it. If you can't adopt, foster. There's tons of rescues that need help with these animals, not just, there's not really too many MPS animals, but animals with similar needs. I've had others reach out to me, other MPS owners of dogs and cats, because it is palliative care pretty much that you have to provide, like just supportive care as well. There's no cure for this disease, unfortunately, absolutely no cure. And then again, one of our followers on our page mentioned me on a Facebook post about a little dog named Benjamin in Texas who looked like he had the same genetic disorder as Walter and Winslow. So I reached out to them and just to see if they would allow me to adopt, being all the way in California. So I drove all the way out from California to Houston and picked him up, and I see this little fluffy Chihuahua, like with the cutest little underbite, again the pushed in nose, which is very common, eye cloudiness, and he had little Muppet feet, and they were kind of like flippers, which Walter, Winslow, and Benji did have, which is another MPS sign. But Benji couldn't walk. Benji came with the ability to walk when he got there at the rescue, but then he lost that ability in between the months from when I got there. But once we got Benji home, everything felt complete again. But for the most part, he was just such a happy dog. Like, he did not let his disability stop him. Like, when I got him, he didn't really know how to crawl. Then one day out of the blue, he decided, I want to go on my bed. So he crawled all the way over to it and hopped right in it. So it was definitely a little bit, I would say, easier. I knew what I was expecting. I knew what was going to happen. I knew that he's not going to live as long as another dog would. But Benji made it to his 3rd birthday, which was amazing. Winslow was almost 3 as well when he passed. He made it to our son's 1st birthday as well. And then he passed away July 22nd, which is actually a day from now as I'm recording this. Rue is not an MPS dog, but I rescued almost a month to the day after Benji had passed away. I wasn't planning on getting another dog. Rue was found as a stray, which is kind of hard to believe that she just wandered out. Somebody probably just dumped her, and originally one of the officers at the shelter was fostering her, but unfortunately she was not thriving. She was not wanting to eat. She was not wanting to drink. Rue actually came into the same shelter that Walter was dumped at, and she looked just like a scared Chihuahua, but then I looked closer. I realized this dog isn't just curling down for no reason. This dog can't stand up. It has no front legs. So I immediately reached out to the shelter, and they let me have her. So that was her rescue story. So I thought that was cool that she came from the same place that Walter did. I was just going to foster her. But, one thing led to another. She wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking, and she was very similar. Like, she wasn't wanting to move or walk. So it was kind of similar to the boys, where I had to syringe feed her, help to go potty. But then she came out of her shell, and she started walking, and she had congenital deformities, so she wasn't born with her front legs. She maybe has a little bit of her left elbow, but nothing on the right. So she is carrying on their legacy. We're still raising MPS awareness. She's our new mascot. Each one of the boys during their time with us was our mascot for our nonprofit animal rescue, Angels for Animal Rescue in Studio City. Now Rue's carrying on their legacy, and we're still continuing to spread MPS awareness.